I'll be making a Power Automate desktop flow that will count the number of words, sentences, etc. in a text file and tell me how long it would take to read it and what the difficulty is. First, I need to actually find the file, so I'll find the Display Select File dialog option. I want to allow the user to select both Word files and text files. So on the file filter, I can add an *.doc* for Word files and a *txt for text files. I need to make sure that I have a button pressed variable so I can check if the user cancels this, so that the robot will end normally. So I'll add a conditional saying that if the user said cancel, then I want the flow to stop normally. So if the button pressed is equal to cancel, I simply want to stop the flow. So now we can try to run it and find the file. And I'll be using this file. And now I have a button pressed which was open, so the flow will continue normally, and I have the file that I can work with. But I can also say, what if I press the cancel button, this cancel button, or the normal close button? My flow will stop. In order to open up the Word file, I need to run an application, which is then the given Word file. So since I already have the file path, I can simply say I want to use the selected file variable. And at that point I want to send some keys, which is to press the Ctrl+A and Ctrl+C buttons in order to grab all the data inside. So I want to send a key, which is a modifier control, and then in here, because I want to press Ctrl+A and not a control followed by an A, I have to put this in curly brackets. So now this is the same as pressing the Ctrl+A button, so holding down Control and pressing A. And then I need to repeat that, so I also copy it with Ctrl+C. And at that point I can simply close the program, the Word program, which I do with terminate process. And then I need to say, and I can never remember this, so it's process ID, and then I have the app process ID from when I run the application. So I can say close the app process ID. And now I want to grab the text from my clipboard, which I think that means we can store it as a variable and not in a temporary clipboard. So now it doesn't matter if we have to press Ctrl+C at a later point. At this point I already have all the text I need, and I want to open up 2 web pages and copy paste my text into. So this will be words to time, which will say how long it would take to read it, and readability score, which will say how hard is it to read. So we need to open up a Chrome instance and then go to the words to time web page. And in this on this web page we need to find some UI elements, so I can find the page, the element here, this number of words text box. So I can just say I want to populate a text field, so I want to fill out a web form. And then simply hold down Control and press the left button to find the input text box. And at this point I can just type in the clipboard text. And now we can try to run it to see what happens normally, because sometimes these text boxes can be a little annoying, and sometimes they don't copy the information properly. Yeah, so in this case it didn't properly copy the text from my Word file. So I'll be doing some things off screen. So what I suspected was that my Chrome action loaded way too fast, and that's because when I run the application Word, I need to make sure that I wait until the application has properly loaded, so that I actually send the keys inside Word. So we can try again. After doing a little off-screen fixing, I changed the order of the get clipboard text and the terminate process because for some reason it wasn't copying my text into this variable. And I also found that I need to make sure that when I populate the text field, I don't do it with emulated typing, because it would be like you just type it really, really fast, which takes a lot of time. So we try once more, and this is all a part of the process of making mistakes and trying something else. So now it does work. It does copy the text into the text field, but this reading time hasn't been updated. And this is something I see normally, and there's a way to fix this, which is simply to populate the text field with just a space at the end. This is something we'll deal with later, but right now it's like Power Automate Desktop puts the text into the text box, but the website doesn't understand that something has been added and it needs to do the calculation. So like I say, we can just add another populate text field where I just add a space or a full stop at the end. And then what's important is that under the advanced settings, I need to say that I append text, so I add the space or the full stop at the end. Yeah, and I can't type in a space, so I'll put in a full stop. So I need to make sure it appends, and then this will send a physical keystroke. And this should help Power Automate Desktop, the website, to understand that I'm trying to do something here. I'm trying to put in text. And then after that, we can extract this information. So I can do that now, so we don't have to run it twice. So this will be web data extraction, extract data from web page. And now I just need to open it for the box to pop up. And I want both to know what the reading speed is set at, the baseline. So I'll extract the element value of the text. And then I want to get the amount of time it takes to read. And this is a scientific notation which we can fix with regex afterwards. So that's not a big problem. So this will be data from reading time, I think it was called. I'll be doing the actual data extraction later once I have the data from both websites. So now I just want to go to the next web page, which is the readability score page. So I can just take our current instance and move that to the site readability score. And once more, I need to put in data inside this text box, and I have to do the trick where I add a space at the end or full stop at the end. So I can just copy paste these, and then I need to change the UI element to the new text box. So again, it's just right click, hold down Control and left click to get this, and it's still the clipboard text. And then this one is also the new UI element, and it's still set to append and send a physical keystroke. So just to, I don't know what that is. that's the step I copy pasted. So then I need to press the measure readability button, which is just press a button on a web page. And at that point I need to extract data again. So I need to extract data from this table. And this looks kind of wonky, but I think that's because these steps, when you copy them from Power Automate Desktop, this is what the code looks like. And that's not what a normal text will look like. It will have spaces. But it doesn't matter because I am always going for the table elements. So I can go right back and say I want to extract data once again. So I'm just copying it because it's a little fast. And then here I want to extract this table cell, the value, and the score. And then I want to go to the stats afterwards. So now I've extracted the scoring method and the score. And I want to save that in a variable called data score. And then I need to press a button, which we have here, press button on web page. And I want to click the stats button. Again, hold down Control, left click, and extract data again. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do column 1 first, because once I extract the second value, Power Automate Desktop will understand I want the whole table, the whole column. And I can do the same on the second column. And now it knows I want all these values. And then I'll save that as data stats. And then I just need to close the web page, close the browser. And afterwards I'll need to pass the text with regex, but I can do that later, because now I just need to make sure that it actually works. So I'll just try running it like normal. At this point I have all the data I need. So I have the data from readability, average reading speed, and this I need to deal with how to extract the actual value from this, and also the minutes part. And I have the data from the score, which was how is this determined and what's the value, and then the statistics. And the statistics are nice and easy to extract, because it's just, I don't have to do any regex with it, unless you wanted to add a 1000 number separator here, so it would be 2.853, but I'm not going to do that. And this is also easy to extract, so the only part I need regex for is this, the reading time. So I'm opening up regex 101, which I'll be using to extract the data. And fortunately I only have to deal with the right side, so this part, because I can extract specifically that part. So I need to extract first the number, which can include a dot, and then I need to extract the second part, which is the text. So this could be seconds or minutes or hours probably. So extracting the minutes part is going to be easy, because I know there'll always be a space between the number and the unit. So I can do a positive look behind. So I know I need to start with a space. So I can just say, copy that syntax with a space. So I know I need to have a space at the beginning. And then I want any kind of word character, which is \s, and then a plus. And this will extract the minutes part, and even if this was hours instead, or seconds, it would still be extracted. So that's regex 1, and then I need the second regex to extract the number portion. And this depends a little on how many characters you want. Maybe you only want what's on the left of the full stop, or maybe you want, say, the first 4 numbers. So I could be a bit lazy and say I want the first 4 characters, which would include the full stop, and then turn that into a text, because I can live with the inaccuracy. If you really wanted to be clever, you could do something like extract the number to the left of the full stop, because you know that's a whole unit, and then say everything to the right of the comma, you then need to multiply that by 60 to get that into seconds, but that's a bit too much, I think, for what I need. So I'll simply say I want the first 4 number or letter characters, and since I only want the first portion, the first time I find this occurrence, I'll just get these first 4 letters. So at this point I can just copy that regex into my flow. So I need to go and find that under text and say parse text. Yes, and then say the text to parse from my data from reading time, the second column, which has this value #2 as the column name. Data from reading time. I want the 0th row, so that's actually the first row. And from the column called value #2. And what is the text to find? I want to find the first 4 characters, word-like characters, and I only want to find the first occurrence. I don't care about position, I only care about the time to read. So I'll call it that. And I can do another parse text to get the unit. And I will call that time to read unit. So I want to find a space followed by any word-like characters. I'm going to make a notepad because using a message box in Power Automate Desktop will not get me a lot of space. It will look very crowded. So I want to run an application, and I can just type in notepad here, which is very nice. And at that point I can just run my flow from here because I don't care about the other steps. I need the UI element, so I'll type in the text field. So I need to populate not a browser automation, but a UI automation. So I need to fill out a text, which is then going to be my notepad. And then in here I need to type some text. And that was my first variable, which was the time to read, and a space and the unit. And it has and then I want to extract the readability score. Readability score in the 0th row, and then the column is called results. Score of, and then the readability, which is data score, which is then the first row, which is actually the second row, which I will show when we run it properly. And then the next portion is just a full table, and I can just pass in the table as a variable, and that whole table will be printed. And then I need the whole statistics table. And I don't want to close the notepad afterwards. You could save it or do something else with it, but at this point I just want to run it and show that it works. So at this point I have all the information I wanted, which was how long does it take. And again, I could make this a bit smarter and say how many, this is in minutes, but this is a comma minute. So I could say this number times 60 to get the seconds. But then you have something tricky where you need to account for what if the unit here is hours. Then you'd need this to be in minutes instead, and that's a bit much for what I need right now. So this is all the information I really cared about. How long would it take me to read my script, which was 7 minutes. That's not how long it takes to speak it, but 7 minutes to read. And how difficult is it, and what is its score? And if you then care about seeing what does that score actually mean, I found this one page from a study that said, what does that mean? So my score of 67.71 gives a score that corresponds to an 8th to 9th grade reading speed or reading difficulty, which is fairly standard. So this would be appropriate for most readers, which is pretty good in most cases. This is what you want to aim for.